So a trademark is a piece of intellectual property that works to identify the source of the goods and services. So if you see the little Ford insignia on an automobile, you know that it's from Ford and it's not from General Motors.
Right.
The idea behind trademark law is actually to protect the consumer, but the benefit really does inure to the owner of the trademark.
Okay.
So, for example, in keeping with the example of Ford, about, I don't know, what was it, 10 plus years ago, they put all of their assets on the line in exchange for a loan. I'm not sure if you've heard about this. But included in their assets was that trademark. So their blue circle with the word Ford was put as part of collateral against a $23.5 billion loan. And then it's interesting because with that loan, they were then able to turn the company around and they didn't end up needing a government bailout. So, so in that case, as you can see, the benefit of the trademark did really inure to Ford.
So that helped them get the loan? And,
Yeah,
you know,
yeah.
If somebody had, if they had defaulted on it, that would have been it
They
before.
could have potentially lost their trademark and it would have gone to the bank.
Right.
They had to start manufacturing cars in order to use it.
That would have been interesting.
Yeah, that would have been interesting. So then the other categories of intellectual property are copyrights, and that protects original works of authorship, photographs, movies, songs, poems, books, choreography in some cases. So websites, that's something that an entrepreneur usually does put up at some point. So that's copyrights, and then patents protect inventions.
Okay.
Those are, and trade secrets they're kind of what they sound like. It's something that gives you a competitive advantage, but you keep it as a secret, and then nobody else knows about it. But if it ever becomes not a secret, then the protection is gone.
Okay.
So Coca-Cola, WD-40, those are some good examples of
Right.
trade secrets. So do you have a specific question about trademarks?
Well, my trademark is the TMJ massage.
Okay.
logo. It was something that my wife and I actually helped design.
Okay.
And I just want to make sure nobody else actually gets a hold of it or tries to infringe upon it, I guess would be.
Right. So that's where the trademark registration comes into effect. Trademarks do have common law protection in the geographical region that you're using it in. So if you're using it in Western New York, you've got protection here, but you do need the federal trademark registration if you want to protect it across the country. So is it a logo?
It is a logo.
Okay, oh, you've got a business card. Oh, it's on your shirt too, okay. Okay. So yeah, the logo, and what is it, does the TMJ stand for anything?
Temple mandibular joint jaw.
Okay. So would you want to protect the logo or the combination?
It's all one.
Okay, and you always use it this way?
Correct.
Yeah, so that's probably something that you would want to do is to file a trademark application to cover the entire logo.
Right. So that would be, it's local as in state or as in federally local or?
The geographic protection, the common law protection will protect you where you're geographically located and providing services.
Okay.
The federal, and that, there's no registration for that. There are New York State registrations that you can get.
Okay.
But it's protected under the common law without any registration. But the federal trademark registration protects you across the country.
And what about like international? Because I'm talking to a gentleman in London, Ontario.
Okay.
About, merging our skills and actually teaching other people how to do what it is that we do.
So training in addition to the massage therapy.
We may end up changing it a little bit, adding something else into it, but.
Unfortunately, even though the United States of America is the greatest country on the earth, our trademarks only cover us here and our territories.
Okay.
So there are additional Canadian trademarks. There's no such thing as an international trademark.
Okay.
You can get some extensive protection in Europe if you do that, but if you're not providing services there, there's no reason to do that.
Now, what about, I said intellectual property, like John Barnes has a specific thing that he teaches as in myofascial release or something like that, and that's intellectually or proprietary, I guess, how would you put that?
So that's more of a philosophy, it sounds like, correct?
It's a way of doing a specific type of muscular therapy.
The only way that it can really be protected is under trademark. So if you think of Bikram yoga,
Similar to that, yes.
Yeah, he tried to copyright his sequence of yoga movements, but then the Copyright Office canceled his copyright registration and actually enacted another administrative rule saying that you can't copyright exercise programs. So this sounds very similar to that. There's no real way to protect the actual therapy. The only way that it's done is under the trademark. So if somebody else wanted to call their yoga studio a Bikram studio, they would have to license the trademark from Bikram.
Okay.
And then he's in charge of the quality of it, but somebody else can start up something called hot yoga, and there's not much he can do about it, right?
Okay.
It's one of those philosophies is what I call them. They're somewhat hard to protect. There's no real great way to protect them. They're not patentable in most cases. Right. So yeah, there are some different things you can do. If you've got written literature and materials, that could possibly be copyrighted, but overall, yeah.
So the specific teaching, when we actually get into the hands-on part of it and all that,
right.
The program that we put together, as far as that could be?
You might be able to copyright some of the written materials, yeah.
Okay. Because I was just up there this weekend and we were discussing it. So I'm assuming that he would have to also register his nationally with Canada as far as his trademark or anything goes.
Right, yeah, and then where the intellectual property really shows up is in the branding. So you have a certain brand out there and people recognize it, people, oh, there's hot yoga, oh, there's Bikram, I'm going to Bikram, I don't know what's going on with hot yoga, I'm confused.
Okay.
So people recognize the brand and then they go there.
So regionally would be the way to start, obviously. And that would be, for me, it would be like what, just Western New York, or, because I actually cover a pretty good sized geographic area, Rochester,
right.
Albany, and pretty much Jamestown, Pennsylvania.
You could file a New York State trademark, otherwise it's protected under common law. I'm a very strong advocate of federal registration because in the internet age, it's so easy for somebody to just find a logo that they like and take it. So if you've got the federal trademark registration, you're protected from that. You send out a cease and desist letter and they have to stop using your logo.
So I could do it as the whole or even just the...
Right, the logo or the combination. Okay. If you're using it in the combination all the time, then you could do that.
Well, I may change the part of the combination of it.
Okay.
The face with the hand, that will stay forever.
Okay.
So that should probably be done.
Right.
I have like the website and all the rest of that stuff is all now. I have actually videos on YouTube.
Yeah.
All that is.
So all of that there is a copyright on all of that. It attaches as soon as the original work of authorship is in a tangible medium. Okay. So as soon as it's recorded, the copyright attaches. If you ever need to file a federal copyright infringement lawsuit, then you would need to register it. Hopefully that wouldn't be necessary. Right. It's not strictly necessary to register all of your videos. If you wanted to do them as a collection, you could do that. Okay. It's fairly straightforward.
Now, what about written documentation that I have, like postings on my website that may explain certain things or stuff like that? Is
Yeah, that's all copyrighted. Again, that attaches as soon as, you know, you put it
As soon
up
as it's
on
on.
the website.
Okay.
So you do have the copyright there, and then you could take the formal step of registering it.
so if I do the logo, does that, and then I have to do each of these individually also, or how does that work?
Yeah, the logo is a trademark, and then all the
All the
information on the website is a copyright.
Okay.
You could copyright your website. I don't necessarily recommend against it, but I don't necessarily recommend in favor of it
Right.
because there's so many different things that you'd have to continually register. So I think it probably at the bottom has copyright 2017, all rights reserved. I think most web designers put that on
Okay.
just as a matter of course.
I'm gonna meet with them after this anyway, so I'll ask them about it.
Yeah, I would imagine that.
I guess the big question is how expensive is this to
That's okay.
to do that federally? I mean, I'm sure federal is not cheap, so.
It's not too terribly expensive. It's basically one upfront fee and then maybe some minor fees along the lines. Our legal fee for filing the trademark application is $625. The government fee is $275 per class of goods or services.
Okay.
It sounds like you're in one, but if you're gonna start teaching, it may end up being 2 classes.
Right.
So yeah, so that's
About $1,000,
right.
pretty much, okay.
Right,
It's not bad.
to get the application on file and then a couple follow-on steps a little bit later. So it's possibly not as bad as you thought, but it's an upfront cost and then it largely goes away and it does protect you.
So then that way, they don't do as New York State does, where you have to keep.
Oh, right, yeah, for the LLC, yeah,
Right.
every year you have to pay based on how much money you've made. No, but, you do have to renew your registration at the 5-year mark,
Okay,
and then at the 10-year mark, and then every 10 years after that.
okay,
And the reason that they do that is just because they don't want somebody sitting on a name that somebody else could use.
right, okay.
So there was somebody, I think, who was trying to get a trademark registration for Iroquois beer, which was something that we had around here
I was saying, that was years back.
50
yeah.
years ago.
Right.
But then somebody else had beat him to the punch, I think. So he wasn't able to do that.
Okay, so now, the big thing was with the teaching, that's another like subsidiary of this per se. We were to, because it would be international. He teaches Canada and I'd be teaching down
Right.
here.
That would be okay. You might want to protect it in Canada as well as the United States. So in the United States, you would want to cover all of the therapy that you're doing, but the training of other people would be a separate category of services.
Oh, okay.
So it's not a separate trademark application, but it's an additional charge of the government.
Okay, so let's say it was $1,000 now, and then
Yeah.
when I started teaching, let's say it's 3 years down the road, it's basically refiling everything.
Well, yeah, then it would be a new application, if it's gonna be that far out.
Right, it may be
If it's
that
gonna be
far out.
something a little sooner, there's a way that we can get
No, we're not
them.
gonna, we're still at the preliminary stages. I wanna make sure everything, is ducks in a row, so nobody's getting
Right,
beat up on this deal.
yeah. And if you did get the trademark registration for therapy, it would indirectly cover teaching,
Okay,
but the more proper way to do it would be to file another application in a couple of years when you get that started up.
okay. Now with this gentleman who taught me this stuff, and we wanna move forward with it, is, again, proprietary, intellectual properties,
Yeah.
stuff like that.
So some of the philosophy that you have, that would be covered by trade secret.
Okay,
But then once you teach other people,
It goes
then,
away.
yeah, there's no secret anymore.
okay,
So in that case, if you've got, once you get closer to that, you can either come back to another Pirate Fight Club and ask more specific questions, or set up a consultation with us and we can try to see if there's any way to protect it.
okay.
Like I said, the philosophies can be tricky to protect, like life coaches. It's not as straightforward as some of the other things.
Doing it regionally, let's say. I
Right.
do here, I have somebody that does it in Albany, as opposed to teaching everybody, and all of a sudden you have, 10,000 people in Buffalo that are doing the same.
That's where the trademark comes in really handy, because people can teach under your trademark.
Right.
And then that's where you get the branding recognition. And so even if somebody else is doing something very similar, other people are going to trust your branding and your trademark and come to you rather than somebody else.
So the franchising would be covered under that.
Well, as part of the franchising licensing agreement, they would license your trademark.
Okay. But it would all be, they'd have to get it through me regardless, right? I mean, I'd have to authorize it. Kind of like McDonald's.
Yeah,
So-
exactly.
Okay.
Or like Zumba, where like a gym might teach it, but they have to license that.
Yeah,
But the gym is
probably.
not a Zumba gym, it's a gym.
Right. Bikram is the same
Bikram,
way.
yeah,
You have to
Bikram,
license
right,
that
so same sort of
trademark,
idea.
or
Okay.
else you have to call it hot yoga or skinny yoga or whatever.
Okay, that's all covered by,
Right, the trademark. So then you license out those rights, and then you still have control of the quality of the services that they're providing. So you go in and you see that their facility is a mess and they're doing a horrible job and everybody's showing up drunk to perform the services, then they've violated the licensing agreement.
Right, and you could just pull it from them at that point.
Right, yeah, because and then they're not allowed to use the logo anymore.
Right.
Hopefully that doesn't happen, but you never know.
So now, when I get to that point, I don't know if, but when I do get to that point, would your company takes care of that part of it too, as far as
We
the
do trademark licensing
contracting?
agreements,
Okay,
yeah.